Hi there! It's time for another What We Read as a Family This Week video. I'm Julie. I have 7 kids. My oldest is 11 and they go down to almost 1 year old. We are pretty perfectly staggered about every 1.5 to 2 years between our kiddos. So we do lots of reading aloud as a family. My kids also read on their own. My 4 oldest, that is, before bed. They have reading time, so I'm not including any of the books that they are reading through in this series of videos. This is just our family read alouds. So let me start with the kids' books. Some of our favorites this week were One Morning in Maine. This is a very sweet book by Robert McCloskey. This is a longtime favorite at the KREKE house about these 2 children who go to town with their father. Really sweet book. The girl in the book loses her first tooth, so everything kind of centers around that event. Another one that we love is Miss Rumphius by Barbara Cooney. This is another really sweet book about a woman. It follows the story of her life from being a little girl to an old woman and what she does to make the world more beautiful. Of course, you've probably heard of this one, Harry the Dirty Dog. Just a super fun book that my little boys ask for again and again. My little ones are 3 and 4 years old, and this is a favorite. There's also one that we got last month, another Harry book called Harry and the Lady Next Door, I think it is, about this woman who lives next to Harry who is an opera singer and he can't stand the noise. So that is another Harry book. If you've already read this one about the dog who runs away and gets all dirty and his family doesn't recognize him when he returns. Okay, this is a really fun one. The Bed Book. This is just a silly book, but it's all written in rhyme. It's very flowing. And the book is about all the different kinds of beds that you could have. So a submarine bed or a tank bed. And it just goes through all of the excitement that these children have on the different bed options. So really fun. This is a book that we read for the first time. We got from the library. It's Willa in the Wind. It was the story of Willa and her adventures with trying to take back what the wind had stolen from her and her sister. And it just talks about how she has to basically outsmart this man who keeps intervening as she goes back to the wind. Another one we read for the first time this week is The King's Monster, which is by Carolyn Haywood. That's why I got this book without ever knowing what it was about, because she's one of our favorite authors of children's chapter books. And so when I saw that she'd written a little picture book, I went ahead and got it. It's about a king who, it's rumored, has a terrible monster, and basically the book follows the story of his daughter, and she grows up looking for a prince to marry, and they have to find a prince who's brave enough to face the king's monster. So it was pretty cute how this book turned out. And last one I'm going to show you for kids books today, which is actually worked well for my older kids as well because of my middle children, because it's an introduction to fractions. So it's basically just a very quick, easy read, but it kind of helps you to understand the idea of fractions. This was another library book that was recommended to me, and I had never read it until this week. Okay, on to the chapter books. So I told you that we were moving through the Chronicles of Narnia this week. We finished book 2 as a family, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I wanted to let you know that we had also picked this up, just to let you know it's available. This is called A Family Guide to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and it basically, it helps you to connect this book to the Bible. It talks about some of the things that C.S. Lewis, like he had in mind of his analogies between the things in this book and the Word of God. So we actually didn't read all the way through this as a family, but I wanted to show you that resource because that's something that I'm going to keep around for my own kids, and it might be something that's interesting to you as well. It's by Christian Ditchfield. You can see that at the bottom. We are still in the middle of these two books. We haven't quite finished them yet. We have about probably a third left in each one, Detectives in Togas and The Bronze Bow. I wanted to, last week after I put my video out there, I realized that I wanted to put a disclaimer on this book. This book was on the recommended reading list, which is why I'd gotten it. I'd never heard of it before. And the one thing that I wanted to say is that this book I have censored a lot while reading to my kids, because it's the entire book revolves around that the words "Caius is a dumbbell" was written on one of the temple walls, and it was blamed on their friend who they're trying to prove innocent. But my kids tend to repeat what they hear a lot. They'll just repeat those words again and again. Can you say hi? Did you crawl up to say hi? And I did not want them calling each other a dumbbell. And because it is said over and over dozens of times in this book, I just thought this is going to get in their heads. So I actually, after we read it that very first time, I don't repeat it. As I'm reading out loud, I just say the words, or the words about Caius or whatever. And because the book is so fast-paced, nobody's noticed. So, you know, just something to keep in mind with that book. Hold on one second. Okay. I'm going to let him play with his brothers for a minute while I finish talking to you. I think he's ready for a nap. I probably should have put him to bed before I started this, but we're so close. Okay, so Bronze Bow, yes. So our last book that I want to tell you about is By the Shores of Silver Lake. We have actually read through the Little House series more than once as a family, but I saw this at the library. It's the audiobook, and because we've been doing a lot of time in the car, I thought it might be fun to have an audiobook to listen to, and we have really enjoyed it. We listened to the whole thing this week, and it is the woman, what am I trying to say? What's their name? The narrator? It just says performed by, I think that's called narrator, right? Is Cherry Jones, and she is so good. Just such a good reader. We listen to a lot of books online through LibriVox, LibriVox. It's a free app that has audiobooks of any types of books that are in public domain. So they couldn't have something like this on it. But we do use that app a lot, and it is hit or miss because it's volunteer. Some of the readers are great, and some are so-so. But they're all going to pale in comparison after Cherry Jones. She was so good. Just gave this her all. So if you're looking for something to play in the car, I don't know. I haven't even looked to see if she narrated any of the other books. It doesn't say on the back here. I'm going to look it up because we would love to hear more of her reading these books. So that was On the Shores of Silver Lake. That's what we read this week. We're going to continue reading those two and then start some new books as a family. So let me know if you read something really good with your kids or yourselves this week. Please let me know in the comments because I love to keep getting new book ideas of things for our family. So thanks so much and have a great day.